Hey everybody, welcome to Mental Health is Wealth. For those who don't know, basically I talk about my ups and downs, mostly related to anxiety, just with the hope that folks can relate as well as share their stories. That being said, one thing I did want to make apparent is I never want to sound preachy when I'm doing this stuff. Just like you, I make a bunch of mistakes. I'm just trying to essentially use what I've learned through trial and error to present something so you don't make the same mistakes that I do. But that being said, today I wanted to talk about something that I've struggled with many times, in fact, and that is the illusion of control, especially as it relates to schedules. So just for, I guess, context, especially when it comes to like working out, I'm very schedule oriented. I want to make sure I wake up at 5 a.m. so I can go to jujitsu or Muay Thai or whatever. Or maybe later in the day, I schedule time to lift weights, go to MMA or wrestling. And a lot of times, whether or not I do that, because exercise is a huge release to me, kind of dictates how I feel for the rest of the day, specifically about myself. And I think that this is important now because about 2 months ago, I had sinus surgery, which I alluded to in a prior video. But what I realized and what I was kind of worried about prior to that was, oh my God, I'm about to have this surgery. I'm not going to be able to lift. I'm not going to be able to spar, do classes, etc. Like, where am I going to put all of this anxiety? And I'm seeing a similar pattern pop up because my wife is about to have surgery, and, similar to her taking on the caretaker role when I had surgery, I in turn am going to be doing that for her. And it's going to change my schedule around a little bit. I'm going to be basically at her beck and call, and that's how it should be, because she did the same thing for me, and it's also what I want to do for her. But just making sure that I don't spiral because I can't train the way I typically would. That's very important because, one, it's going to affect, just my daily existence. But two, Christina recognizes, when I'm feeling a certain type of way. So if I can't regulate myself when she's at a very, difficult point, it just kind of comes off as selfish. But even more than that, just like, it's a life skill to be able to adapt and deal with change. And even if it's short-term stuff, like, it's really important that myself and you, if this relates to you, are able to tell yourself, like, look, I didn't train today, but that doesn't mean like I'm lazy. That doesn't mean that I didn't make the most of the day. Like, I know that I can do a little home workout. I know that I can visualize myself training and doing certain things and whatnot. Like, there's ways to be flexible that candidly I have had trouble with in the past because I'm just rigid. And that's what I wanted to make this video about, because sometimes, like, when I look back at my videos, I almost feel like I'm being preachy, as if like I know everything and everybody else like is making these mistakes. But in reality, all of my videos that I've made are based on mistakes that I've made. And to whatever degree I've been able to recognize those mistakes and make some sort of positive change or adapt, etc., it's taken me a lifetime to do this. And I don't know why. It might be genetic, it might be experience, it might be something third party that I'm not even aware of. But the point is that in order for me to live like a good life, I need to adapt. And I need to make sure that my insecurities as far as having to have a rigid schedule are not going to make life miserable for other people. Like, at the end of the day, I have to be conscientious. I have to understand that my actions do affect other people. I have to understand the fact that me being rigid affects me because it makes me more anxious and it makes me less creative because I think I have to fit into a certain mold. I have to live a life by a certain schedule, and if I don't do that, regardless of if I'm sick or somebody in my life is sick, that I'm some sort of failure because I didn't, manage to do it. Let me give you an example. Christina's surgery was initially scheduled for like midday. I'm talking like 12:30 tomorrow. And in my head, I was like, I could probably wake up at 5 and do a Muay Thai class. Fridays we spar. Love it. Like, absolutely love it. And in my head, I was thinking like, yeah, I can spar. We'll be done around like 7 a.m. I'll drive 45 minutes back to the city. And, I'll be there. We'll have 2 hours before we even have to get to the hospital. And the more I think about this, I'm like, Christina needs somebody to be with her for this surgery, like as a support system. She's been worried about this for a long time. She's been excited for it in the sense that it will provide good results, but it's scary. Like, being put under is a scary situation. And I'm just thinking about, how can I get a little workout in just, so I feel like I checked off a box in my life. And that's something I wrestle with too, because in my head, I'm thinking about how I'm bettering myself so I can be a better person for people around me, but it just kind of comes off as selfish. And it also stresses me out. Like, I shouldn't like even be thinking about that right now. Like, I should just be thinking, maybe I'll wake up early, do a little core exercise or, whatever, just in the neighborhood. That way I can be present for Christina and I'm not running myself ragged trying to do the most. And I'm not going to make this a super long video because, like I said, it's just kind of spur of the moment, and I wanted to confirm what you folks probably knew, which was I'm also a flawed individual. But at the end of the day, the last thing I want is for my videos to come across as preachy, because in my first video, like, this was all kind of just me trying to get some stuff off my chest, things that I thought I was doing wrong, or just like life kind of beating me up in general. So I know some of my videos have been more kind of self-help, that sort of theme, and if I can help people, like, that is beautiful. But the main thing I want to do is just get across that I too make mistakes. I too have my ups and downs. And, the most important thing is to just look at the bigger picture and not beat yourself up too much, because every day we got to wake up and look at ourselves in the mirror. So I would prefer that not only myself, but also you see a version of yourself that you can give grace to, as opposed to having a rigid standard that can never be broken, because it's just not sustainable. And if you want to get the most out of life like I do, you just got to be able to be more flexible. So sorry if I sounded like I was yelling as well. This is something that was kind of on my chest as soon as I made my last video, because I did feel like it was a little preachy. But take it as you will. Love you guys. I appreciate you even watching my videos or listening to this via podcast. I couldn't imagine this 5-6 years ago, but hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on the next one.